How you doing, everybody? Chef Mark back in the kitchen. I'm going to show you how to do some biscotti, which is an Italian cookie. It means twice baked. They're really nice and crunchy. You may see them at like Starbucks or coffee houses. They dip them in coffee, wine, hot chocolate, or maybe just want to nibble on them. Just make sure that we don't make them too big so they look like something the Rottweiler would be chewing on, okay? Something a little bit more delicate for grandma. So in here, we showed you the recipe, and there's two of them. The recipe that I'm doing is in the middle, and that one has not all the ingredients. A little test for you. It's gonna have to get more flour until it gets to a consistency where you can roll the dough. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, do the one on the bottom, okay? It's gonna be kind of a sponge method. We're kind of whipping up the sugar and the eggs. So I got my sugar in here. I'm gonna add my eggs. I'm doing a small recipe. So this one is 6 ounces of sugar, 3 ounces of eggs, about an egg and a half roughly. And then I added a little bit of instant coffee. I put a little bit of cocoa powder in with my flour. So I'm gonna do kind of a coffee chocolate and chocolate chip biscotti. I like those flavors, so you can kind of pick whatever you want. Dried fruits work good, chocolate chips. If you do like a white chocolate chip, be careful. It'll caramelize and it'll come out kind of brown. I did one last semester with butterscotch, white chocolate chip, pecan. Oh, very, very good. So any type of flavorings you can put in there also. So, you know, sky's the limit. Be a little bit of creative. A lot of traditional ones though, anise or anise, kind of that licoricey flavor, almond or hazelnut. Very kind of basic. I started making these way back when in Dallas at the Fairmont Hotel, and we used to buy them, and I thought they were just outrageously priced, never made them before. Found a recipe, kind of messed around with it, and then I just kind of took it from there and had all sorts of nice seasonal flavored biscotti. Boss loved them. Keep your bosses happy, keep your food costs down, and it just kind of took off from there. So this is kind of that same recipe. So I kind of get this nice and kind of thick. So the eggs are going to emulsify with the sugar. And then in here I sifted my bread flour and my cocoa powder. Okay? But I know I'm going to need more. Okay? So I'm going to stop this, add it all in. Turn it on slow. And it calls for, let's see, 6 ounces of bread flour. And I put a little bit of cocoa powder in there, maybe an ounce, just to give it a little bit of chocolatey flavor, a little bit of color. It's starting to come together, but I can see it's still kind of wet. I'm going to take some extra flour, just a little bit at a time, until it kind of comes together. If the batter's too loose, it'll kind of flatten out. You're still going to get a pretty good cookie. But again, like I said, you can kind of mess around with it a little bit. You know, everything is not always so clear cut. This gives you, you need to kind of maybe, you know, think for yourself once in a while and say, hey, this doesn't look right. Like when I was doing the eclair with that other recipe, it just didn't seem right. It seemed a little bit loose, but at that time I couldn't change it. But I tried it, didn't like it as much, and I'll go back to my original recipe. So I can still kind of see it's a little bit wet. I'm going to add a little bit more flour. I'm going to add some of my chocolate chips. I just eyeball it. I like a lot of chocolate chips in mine. Another favorite one is vanilla bean sun-dried cherry and chocolate chip is a really good one. Hazelnut flavor with some, you know, chopped up hazelnuts. Pistachio during Christmas time is one I always like also. So, all right, I'm going to finish this on the table. Maybe just a little bit of flour. And again, a lot of the things, I like to get my hands dirty. I like to get in there and kind of feel the dough, the consistency of things, and that's another way for me to know that, hey, this is how it's supposed to be. So, and again, we're going to get all of that out of there. oven telling me it needs more time. All right. So now I'm just gonna bring this all together. Don't worry if it looks a little dry in areas, that's okay. We're gonna get this all together and kind of do that kneading that we learned way back when you're doing bread doughs. This looks pretty good. Again, just from doing things over and over and over again, you can just kind of eyeball things. So you should be able to roll the dough. Different ethnicities, I think Jewish, Eastern European, they have something called mandel bread or mendel bread. It's usually two colors, chocolate and vanilla. All right, some people even roll this in some sugar, okay? So I'm gonna move this over to my pan, have an even log here, and then if your hands are a little, then we'll press down. And I kind of press down a little bit more on the edges, a little bit higher in the middle. So I don't like to get them too big. I like them a little bit on the medium size. And then I'll put this in the oven. This will be in there for a while. It's going to be firm to the touch. I'm going to take it out, let it cool. I'm going to slice them fairly thin, lay them back down, and let them bake a little bit more to get crispy all the way through, and they're done. And then you can leave them plain, dip them in chocolate or whatever, but that's pretty much your biscotti. Have some with some coffee, wine, hot chocolate.